Open up your MTT. We're going to do quadratic formula. Formula for quadratic formula is x equals the opposite of b, or negative 1b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. The jingle that we learn is, for quadratic formula is, opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's get started. First thing that we need to do is find our a, b, and our c's. So our a is going to be 1, b is going to be negative 2, and c is going to be negative 15. So we're going to do x equals negative 1 times negative 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 2 squared, minus 4 times 1 times negative 15, all divided by 2 times 1. X is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus, now I always change the minus 4 to, add a line, change the sign. So this is going to be plus negative 4 times negative 15 is a positive 60, all over 2. X equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 64 divided by 2. X equals 2 plus or minus 8, which is the square root of 64, divided by 2. This is where we're going to break it into two different equations. So it's going to be 2 plus 8 divided by 2, and it's going to be 2 minus 8 divided by 2. 2 plus 8 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. 2 minus 8, or add a line, change the sign, 2 plus negative 8 is going to be negative 6, divided by 2, which is going to be negative 3. So our x-intercepts are negative 3, 0, 5, 0, and our roots are negative 3 and 5. Okay, let's find our A. A is 1, B negative 10, C positive 16. Here we go. X is equal to negative 1 times negative 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared. Let's go ahead and get that square in there. Minus 4 times 1 times 16, all divided by 2 times 1. X equals 10 plus or minus the square root of 100. Now remember, we're going to add a line and change the sign up here. So this is going to be plus negative 64, all divided by 2. X equals 10 plus or minus the square root of 36, all divided by 2. X equals 10 plus or minus 6 divided by 2. We're going to break that down into 10 plus 6 divided by 2, 10 minus 6 divided by 2. So we're going to have 16 divided by 2, which is 8. And we're going to have 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So our x-intercepts are going to be 2, 0, 8, 0. And our roots are going to be 2, 8. We're going to go ahead and do A equals 1, B equals 3, but now we have a problem. We don't know what c is. So we're going to need to zero pair out the 12. So we're going to have x squared plus 3x minus 12 is equal to 0. Now we can go ahead and continue using our formula x equals. C is going to be negative 12. So we're going to do x equals negative 1 times 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 12. Remember, we're going to add a line, change the sign, and make that a plus negative 4. So x equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 48 divided by 2. X equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 57 divided by 2. We're going to go ahead and break that down into negative 3 plus the square root of 57 divided by 2. And we're going to do negative 3 minus the square root of 57 divided by 2. Now, these two answers look pretty ugly, but remember that the square root of 57 is just a decimal. So we would actually put that into our calculator, add negative 3 to it, divide by 2, and then we're going to get our decimal. So in this case, our x-intercepts are going to be negative 3 plus the square root of 57 divided by 2, comma 0. Negative 3 minus the square root of 57 divided by 2, 0. And then our roots are going to be negative 3 plus the square root of 57 divided by 2, and negative 3 minus the square root of 57 divided by 2. All right, let's go ahead and find our A. A is going to be 1, B is going to be negative 9, and C is going to be 21. So x equals negative 1 times negative 9 plus or minus the square root of negative 9 squared minus 4 times 1 times 21, all divided by 2 times 1. X is equal to positive 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 84 divided by 2. X is equal to 9 plus or minus the square root of negative 3 over 2. Right here, when we see the square root of negative 3, there is no such thing as a square root of negative 3, so we're going to have a no solution. And that's how you do quadratic.